Are you tired of practicing and feeling like you're getting nowhere? You're putting in the time, but the results just don't match the effort. This is not a lack of talent, it's just a practice problem. I'm going to show you the RED method, a 3-step practice framework that I use with my students to create meaningful results. Even without adding extra practice time, you can probably double your progress, whether it's violin or piano or golf. So why is what you're doing now failing you? There are 3 levels of practice, and most people are stuck at level 2. At level 1, you play through with mistakes, and then you play it again, trying to play it better. This is basically useless. Level 2 is where you correct your mistakes. You pause and do that part over and over again until you get it right. This feels like good practice, but the brain only remembers what it is used to. And what it is used to are the 10 incorrect versions you played before you finally got it right. So level 3 practice begins with repeating until you get it right. But then the most critical part is that you then repeat it correctly a lot of times. Someone asked Muhammad Ali how many sit-ups he does. And he answered, I only count my sit-ups once they start hurting, because those are the ones that count. Now, of course, let's avoid being in pain while we're practicing, but we need to change our mindset and realize that it's really only the correct repetitions that contribute towards our progress. But even here, some people get it wrong. I had a student, very advanced, very hardworking, and he came to me and played a scale in thirds. Now, if you play the violin, you know that it's quite difficult to play that in tune. And he played the whole thing through and adjusted every note until it was beautifully in tune. And he finished and he said to me, I can get it in tune by adjusting, but I can never just land in tune. So I asked him, and how do you practice it? And he said, well, he plays it through very carefully and he adjusts every note to get it in tune. And I said, so you've never once practiced landing in tune? Of course you can't do it. You've never practiced that. His brain only knew the version where he lands out of tune and then adjusts. His brain has never experienced the feeling of what it feels like to land in tune. So before we get to the RED practice method, here's the maths of how you're going to double your progress. Imagine practicing at level 2. You take a tricky section and it takes you 2 minutes before you get it right. So that's 2 minutes for 1 correct repetition, or half a correct repetition per minute. Now, if you're practicing at level 3, you first take the same 2 minutes to get it right, but then because you've just figured it out, you might be able to do 5 more correct repetitions in the next minute. So now you have 6 correct repetitions in 3 minutes, which is 2 correct repetitions per minute, or 4 times as many as before. You might not get through as many notes per practice session, but you'll definitely learn or improve more notes per week with this approach. Your progress can double, not from more total practice time, but from more correct repetitions per minute. This is the foundation of the RED practice method. R is for repetition. My definition of good practice is repeating the right thing. Every correct repetition builds the brain pathway you want, but every incorrect repetition builds something useless or even makes you worse. When a student plays out of tune all the time, the brain gets so used to it that it stops noticing. In fact, that out of tune version is the one that they perceive is correct. I tell my students, you don't want to get really good at playing out of tune. I've had a lot of students oblivious to the fact that they've got so many scratchy sounds on almost every note they're playing. But those scratchy sounds are like the background noise of an air conditioner. Your brain gets so used to it that it just blocks it out. You don't even hear it anymore. After scripting this video, I came across the Bulletproof Musician podcast where Noa Kageyama discusses effective practice with Micah Killian, a Juilliard graduate and university professor who's done a lot of in-depth research into this topic.
So it wasn't the number of things that somebody did in a practice session or practice sessions that determined the amount of learning. It was the number of accurate, beautiful trials, the percentage of accurate, beautiful trials. So what they found was that the people who learned the most did the most beautiful, accurate stuff. In other words, they made that their habit.
I recommend listening to that whole podcast. It's excellent. and I've put a link in the description below. Also, Noah's work at bulletproofmusician.com has some fantastic resources, particularly on the subject of musicians' performance psychology. Well worth a look. So correct or even beautiful repetitions should be the foundation of your practice. Let's push this even further with E for elimination. Just stop making mistakes. But Jonathan, I can't just stop making mistakes. It's not that simple. Of course, this sounds like useless advice, but I bet you can remove 90% of the mistakes from your practice using 2 simple concepts. What does the research suggest your rate of mistakes should be? Here's Micah again.
They had a big old data set from the video game world, and they found that motor acuity, essentially how well we change our motor behaviors over time, motor acuity seemed to improve the fastest when people had an error rate of about 15%.
Based on my experience, most people's error rate is well above 15%. I'll cover some traps that advanced players fall into later, but first, here are the 2 fundamental concepts that will help you avoid making mistakes. I've taught them from age 3 to 76. Beginner to advanced. They are not complicated. Everybody knows them, but almost nobody does them. There are 2 ways to make anything easier in order to make fewer mistakes. Go slower or do less at a time. I know, it's so simple. You already knew that. But I also know, after teaching 10,000 lessons, that you still need to hear it. I still need to hear it. Concept 1, speed. I had a professor at uni and her catchphrase was, "How slow do you need to go?" Slow down until the mistake disappears. That's your practice tempo. Now you can start to stack up correct repetitions and build the right brain pathway. Fast progress comes from playing slowly. Concept 2, chunk size. How small can the section be? I think this concept is underused and misunderstood. Most people understand that they shouldn't just play through their entire piece and that they should do a smaller block. But let's dig into a little bit more detail than that. With my students, we do Lego practice. You can't just dump a pile of Lego on the ground and suddenly it becomes what you're trying to build. You have to put it together 1 block at a time. This could be 1 bar or half a bar or even 1 note, or even just the bowing on 1 note. Most mistakes boil down to the difficulty of getting from this note to this note. So a 2-note Lego block is often a great place to start. Then you do 3 notes, then you do 4 notes. Then join that block to the next, and soon you'll have the whole section sounding beautiful. These 2 types of practice work for anything, whether you're learning violin or piano or tennis or golf. You can always go slower or do less at a time to make faster progress. Now, how can we use the mistakes that remain to our advantage? D is for diagnosis. Don't waste your mistakes. A teacher once said, if you play it 3 times and it's still out of tune, change something. A mistake is only useful if you learn something from it. Most people will say, oh, that didn't sound good, try again. But that's actually pointless because you've got no idea what you're going to do differently next time. Here are 3 levels of diagnosing a mistake. This is vague, not very helpful. That was scratchy. There's nothing specific to fix there, so that's useless. This is a bit better. That was scratchy because I was too close to the bridge. So now I know, okay, I need to not be too close to the bridge. We have a little bit of a solution. Now, the best version would be that was scratchy because I was too close to the bridge, and that happened because my bow wasn't straight. So now I know exactly what was wrong. I can very quickly fix it and get back to correct repetitions. Here's another example. That was out of tune. Not very helpful. A bit better would be my G was flat. And even better than that would be my G was flat because I moved my hand when I played the low first finger before it. You have to be clear about what happened, why did it happen, and what are you going to do differently next time. Diagnose the mistake, fix it efficiently, and go straight back to correct repetitions. So correct repetition is the goal. And as you go slowly and do a small amount to eliminate mistakes, you get more correct repetitions. And as you diagnose your mistakes so that you can fix them quickly, you also get more correct repetitions. And as you get more correct repetitions, you make fewer mistakes. So your success compounds, making you better and better. But this can also work against you. You repeat incorrectly, you go too fast, so you keep making mistakes. You don't diagnose why you made the mistake, so it's very hard to correct it. So you keep repeating incorrectly. Now your brain is getting really good at playing badly. It even stops noticing the mistakes because it's so used to them. It just takes the brain pathway it's most used to. So make sure you are cycling towards better and better playing, not towards worse and worse playing. Here's a summary of the red practice method. You can download a printable version of this below and put it on your wall so you don't forget. You don't even need to put in your email address. Here are 4 traps to avoid that even advanced players often fall into. Number 1, don't skip medium speed. Often I have students who are really good at practicing slowly and then they go straight to fast. Do not skip medium speed practice. Go a little bit faster and a little bit faster and make sure that all throughout you are still repeating correctly. Number 2, practicing with no rhythm. You can start with very slow practice and no rhythm, but make sure you very quickly put the rhythm back in and make sure that you have got it right, even at a slow speed. Metronome is your friend. Otherwise, you can end up taking tiny bits of time, especially in the difficult moments, and you end up ingraining that unstable pulse in your performance version. So then what normally happens is it falls apart as soon as you try to play it with somebody. Don't practice slowly something that is actually impossible at speed. This is really common and a little bit difficult to explain. So I'm going to give you 3 examples. I want to do a really fast G minor arpeggio. Now if I practice that, but instead of going like this, I put my wrist here because it helps me play in tune. So I practice that really slowly a lot of time. And I do that 20 times. Then I learn this inefficient way to get up the arpeggio. And if I try and play that fast with that extra movement, it's just not going to work. I can't do it. So I've been practicing something that works slowly, but it doesn't actually work fast, so therefore it was pretty much a waste of time. Here's another really common one for string players. If you want to play really fast notes off the string, like usually those notes might have dots on them. And so then at slow speed, we practice them. Now, if I tried to do that at speed, it is impossible because I'm doing a different stroke. I can't do that fast. It just doesn't work. So we actually need to practice legato because the fast bow stroke feels like legato, even though the bow itself is jumping. This would also work for wind and brass players. If they want to play something really, really fast, practicing ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta is not very useful because in reality, you're going to need to go da-ga-da-ga-da-ga-da-ga-da. So make sure when you're practicing a bit slower, you're still going da-ga-da-ga-da because ta-ta-ta-ta-ta is a different thing you're trying to practice, and it's not possible at speed. Number 4, always remember context. Let's say you've got 8 notes and your real challenge is going from notes 4 to 5. So once you've got that correctly, then you need to also do notes 3 to 6 and then maybe notes 1 to 8. Otherwise, what often happens is you can be really successful at a small Lego block, and then when you put it in context, it falls apart. And it might be because the few notes before meant your hand was in a completely different position than what you were practicing. And so then you realize, oh, I didn't actually practice the reality of what that was going to feel like. Here's a bar from Vivaldi Concerto in A minor. All right, and let's say I'm really struggling with, it's crashing and I want to make that smooth. So I practice and I do that until I get it right. And then I try and play it and it doesn't work. Well, actually, there's another difficulty that I didn't take into consideration, and that's that I've got a big string crossing. So then I need that context. But then I try and play it again, it still doesn't work. Well, actually, there's more context than that because I should be coming from a different position. So I play it, and I have that shift and the string crossing and those tricky notes all at once. So I need to practice probably the whole bar, and then now I've got it. But you must be aware of what comes before to know what position your hand is going to be in order to practice effectively. So don't forget context. If you have good intentions, but then keep finding yourself playing through way more than you intended to, this is a great fix. Pick one line or even one bar, just a small chunk, and then decide that's all you're going to practice. Set a timer for 2 minutes. And if you go even one note past the end of that bar or that line you decided on, you have to start the timer again. Suddenly, 2 minutes feels intense. The focus you get is amazing. I had one student who generally doesn't like practicing, but after a few sets of doing these 2-minute challenges, he said, oh man, that was really fun. To level this up even further, instead of doing, say, 3 sections for 3 minutes each, do 3 sections for 1 minute each, but 3 times. So the same total number of minutes practiced, but probably much more brain development. Good practice is repeating the right thing. If you're not spending most of your time repeating things correctly, you're not going to progress quickly. Repeat correctly, eliminate mistakes, diagnose what went wrong, and then just do it again. Every correct rep builds the brain pathways you want. Every incorrect rep works against you. So, are you practicing, or are you just rehearsing your mistakes? Till next time, good luck.